What's going on, George? It's so fantastic to have you out on the show. I have literally been seeing you left and right just on social media, killing it. Seems like you're getting deals all the time, even in this extreme hot market. You have always got something going on, and I am excited to jump into today's episode because I'm actually trying to do some of the things that you're doing right now. So I don't know if everyone else is excited, but I might be just selfishly excited about this interview. So, George, for those out there that don't really know who you are or what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself and then what got you interested in investing in real estate.
I'm excited as well, by the way. Been following you on social media and, I see you making moves. So definitely excited to be on the show. As far as, where I started and where I'm at now, started investing in real estate about 15 years ago. Was at that time studying to be an electrical engineer. I didn't want to be an engineer. I was just ended up there somehow. I was really good at math, and that's what it led me to engineering. But point is, I knew I wanted to start my own business. Didn't know what it was. Everything kind of led me down the path of real estate investing. Started doing some deals. By that time, I had graduated and was working in the engineering department at UPS, but still doing real estate on the side. Finally did enough deals to where I quit my W-2 and started full-time. That was mainly single-family homes. Then I started kind of working my way up to small multifamilies. And then about 4 years ago, I was introduced to large multifamily syndications. And haven't looked back since. I mean, I love the concept of having. So the entire time I was doing single family, my goal was to scale, go big. I was able to do that, but I mean, it was a lot of effort and time to do that with the single family. So I just love the fact that you can buy a 100+ unit multifamily property, and built into that one property, you've got that economy of scales. So been hitting it hard for the past 4 years now in the multifamily. We're a little bit over 2,500 doors on the general partnership side. And then during the same period, I was also investing passively, and I've invested passively in several deals and also have some new development projects as well.
Wow. I think there is a lot to unpack over the last 15 years of your life, but I'm going to start with that transition that you had from, I guess, being in the single family space and working a full-time W-2 job to then quitting the W-2 and making that leap to go full-time into real estate. I am literally in the middle of, I really think this year is finally going to be the year I'll be able to go full-time in the business. I mean, what would that transition look like for you? What was kind of the need or the goal for what you needed to see from the business before you made that jump? Just kind of walk us through that.
Great question. And I know a lot of investors kind of go through the same thing, and they have that inner battle of, when do I do it? I think one thing that helped me was, my W-2 job. I knew that wasn't the end game. I knew that was a tool to get to my end game. And I always saw it that way. I everything I do at 100%, 110%. So it wasn't like I was a zombie at my job, but I just had other goals. So at the same time, I had people kind of, family mainly, telling me things like, you're crazy, you've got a secure job. How are you going to pay for insurance? Like silly things like that. It's like, okay, if I'm making double what I'm making now, I'm pretty sure I can afford health insurance. But, just that mindset. So I had to break out of that. And then I had to I'm a numbers guy. So, I mean, I had to be doing enough business on the real estate investing and consistently to where I knew I could leave that job and not have any issues. And it got to the point where I felt like, okay, my W-2 job is stopping me from making more money and growing with the real estate investing.
Okay, so it was stopping you, and you're probably making roughly the same on an annual basis in the job or in the business that you were making in the job. So it's not like Or even if you were taking a slight pay cut, it was like, it's going to be worth it because I'm going to be able to continue to grow and do way better. And insurance
Yeah.
is the least of my worries. So I love that. I love that you mentioned that. And that is definitely, to go back to what you were saying about the 110%. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to give 110% on this thing over here, come home and then do 150%, full time in the business, and then also try to be full time as a spouse, and then with the kids, and then everything else kind of all commingling. A lot of folks just find it difficult. One, to find the time, but two, to kind of manage it all and make sure that it's all having balance. And I know this
I'll
is
give
like,
you that. I did not have kids back then. That man, yeah, that would have been tough.
so what was the balance like then with just you and your wife and the W-2 job and the other job? What really changed, I guess, from a time perspective once you went full time into the the real estate business?
Yeah, so my spouse was in the real estate investing business with me, in the weeds and building it with me. So that made it pretty easy. We worked on it together. We did that hustle, the side hustle together. Actually, after I quit my W-2, it took her maybe a few months later, and she ended up quitting her W-2 as well. So then we were working together all the time. And then that's a whole other thing. For those of you that work with your spouse, you probably know what I'm talking about. But
Oh my goodness.
there were some pains in that as well, but we worked through it and we figured it out.
I can only imagine. I have not worked full time or in depth with my wife in this real estate business, but I actually met my wife through Starbucks. We worked together at Starbucks, and she was my manager back when I was in college. And that was horrible. It was a miserable time. She always says I was the worst employee she's ever had. I've always felt like I've been just a bad employee. Feel like I'm just better at running my own business, but I totally understand. Totally get you. So, George, when you started this business, did you have any idea that you'd be where you are today? Like, what was the thought process of getting into this, kind of where you wanted to head? And then how have you been, like dumbfounded at where you are now?
I'm not surprised by any means. The speed, I'm surprised by when I finally decided to put all my focus towards multifamily and the syndications, how much quicker things started coming together versus I just had a lot going on. I was, still trying to do some single family stuff. I had the construction company, which I still have, but within the construction company, I was building out a roofing sales team and any other little things that were thrown at me left and right. So once I read the book Traction, and it talked a lot about focus, and also I think Tony Robbins talks about it as well. So around that same time, I had read that book and I had gone to see Tony Robbins, and I started just kind of cutting things out and really focusing, and then things started taking off from there on the multifamily side. So that was a little surprising.
So you went, 4 years ago is when you really jumped into the syndication side of multifamily. So let's say you had what, like a couple of hundred units back then or something, right? Something like that.
Before, I had zero. I had some single family homes, but and
So
then
what just,
I had sold my other smaller multifamily. I wasn't doing any rentals actually. I had sold off all my rentals, and I was just literally just doing fix and flips and wholesales. A lot of them, but I wasn't holding them.
so
So yeah,
even better,
so
even better. You literally went from nothing to doing thousands of units in just a few years. What was the mindset shift like there? What was the, I guess, goal or intent behind it all? How did you continue to go and go and go and continue to like strive for more?
as far as the striving for more, it's to me, it's always been my mindset and in my blood to grow and scale my companies. My motivation to do that is my family and to provide for them the best possible life I can. Now, as far as the growth I had, at least with multifamily, there's a lot of, so The first year, I didn't even land a deal. I mean, the first year was just a lot of the taking in the education, starting to plant seeds, networking. Then the next year, I landed maybe a deal or two. I can't remember. But still continuing to plant those seeds and network. And it wasn't really till the third year in is when it really started taking off. And all those seeds I had planted started coming back and started built that traction. And then it's just kind of taken off from there.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much same for me. I got started investing, at least in the multifamily specific side, like 2.5 years ago. And it's literally taken almost 2.5 years to even get the first deal closed. But then it's like once you get that one, things start to get just a little bit easier. And then from what I've seen, obviously I don't have the level of experience you have, but from what I've seen, it gets easier and easier as you continue to go.
Yeah, I mean, you start building your team out, and your partners, and who you can count on for this and that. And then brokers start realizing that, okay, well, these guys close deals. So then more deals start coming your way. If you're doing a good job with networking or social media, then you start having, now this year or maybe even towards the end of last year, I mean, I just get people reaching out left and right as far as bringing deals to me to help them close on it, be the key principal, and help them throughout it. So I get a lot of my deal flow that way now. So yeah, man, it's just really when the growth starts, it starts.
So it starts snowballing. So I have to ask, how, I'm sure everyone is wondering, how on earth have you been able to raise all of the money for 2,500 plus units? Is that like you doing it all by yourself, like you and your wife, or are you bringing in a lot of partners on these deals to help you raise all this money?
Not all me, that's for sure. We're getting better and better at it for sure, but we bringing strategic partners, ones that in the beginning it was partnering with somebody that was their strength. Our strength was finding the deal, doing the capex, the asset management. Their strength was bringing the money and signing on the loan. Now, throughout the years, it's kind of gotten more balanced, and then just there's a couple deals where we brought in big checks, high net worth individuals, or private equity, so that helps. And then same man, continuing to grow the investor network. And then as you begin to really deliver on your projections and returns, I mean, that again starts growing exponentially. And I mean, we constantly get, every day we're getting, I don't know, it grows anywhere from 5 to 15 leads daily on investors.
Folks just like seeing you on social media or something and saying, hey, I'd love to learn more.
And social media, referrals, podcasts, all types of events.
That's right.
Yeah.
All those things, all these different thought leadership platforms. I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. That was one of the big reasons I really wanted to start this, not only to educate myself and educate others and help the guest out from getting, free marketing basically, but also it just builds credibility for myself and the guests almost immediately. Just bring this person on. It's like, yep, they know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. Everybody knows what they're doing. Just reach out to us if you're interested.
Yeah. I mean, it's smart, man. It's smart. It works for sure.
So when you knew you had to start creating partnerships back, you're in the single family space with your wife, going full time, then you decided, okay, we're going to dive deeper into the syndication side of things, and we just don't have access to these millions of dollars or whatever it was, then we're just going to need help doing X, Y, and Z, but we're going to get it done. What kind of partner were you looking for? What kind of traits, or were you looking for? What kind of personality do they need to have? What did that look like for you?
Pretty simple. So first of all, do we like the person? Can we get along with them? Can we work through situations with them if something comes up? That's number one. And then to me, number two is, like I mentioned, strengths. Do we complement each other, or are we I see this all the time with partnerships in multifamily, and I'm not sure exactly why, but you'll get 3 or 4 partners like partnering together on a deal. And then, when they reach out to me to help them on the deal, I kind of always break it down. Okay, so what's everybody's strong point and where are the gaps? And everybody's got the same strong point, and they don't complement each other. None of them can raise equity, and they all have experience asset management or something like that. And it's just like, okay, well, you guys didn't really think that through, did you? So yeah, I mean, those two things, are we going to complement each other with our strengths, and are we going to get along and work through the transaction and then issues if there are any?
So then how do you find these people, especially during COVID when all of the meetups and everything aren't available to go and really meet face to face? Is it just Zoom? Is it just social media that you're able to find potential partners?
I mean, I think it starts there. And then if it seems like a good fit from that, then eventually is meeting them. I mean, I think meeting in person is still important. Obviously, during the height of COVID, that was difficult. But I did start some new partnerships during COVID, and we were able to work through it. But a lot of networking and social media, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Social media has been huge for me from every aspect of real estate as a whole, from brokers to lenders to contractors to investors. I mean, it seems like social media has been massive even before COVID. But then COVID happened and it was like, all right, well, everything's going virtual. So I guess we'll just keep what we're doing. Because I actually thought about creating a meetup back in February of 2020. So right before COVID happened. Could you imagine me starting a meetup and then COVID happens and it's like, well, that was pointless.
Well, I mean, our meetup was getting, we had a couple meetings, maybe 3 or 4, but I mean, we were gaining serious traction. I mean, we were getting 150 people showing up, 180, like, and then COVID. Yeah.
Have you guys started that back up yet?
No, we're yeah. Now we're so freaking busy. It's like, which I'm happy about being busy, obviously. So I want to start it back up. Just gotta make it a priority.
Yeah. Okay, now jumping into the meat of this show, which is the vertical integration. Now, it sounded like from earlier that you actually already had the construction company before you ever got into syndication. So it sounded like it was an easy integration almost immediately. You already had the company, you're already flipping for all the years, and then you're like, all right, now we're doing multifamilies. We can use this.
Maybe even easier than it sounded, because our construction company had actually started making a turn towards commercial and multifamily. Like, our clientele had already turned into more commercial and more multifamily before we even started investing. I found out about syndications through a multifamily client on the construction side.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how I discovered syndications, because I had no idea. I thought you had to have millions to close on these properties, and didn't realize you can partner with others and get it done that way.
So what does it look like now in your business having this vertically integrated construction company? Because I know a lot of folks out there, myself included, other multifamily syndicators, they're all looking at the best possible way to decrease expenses and increase income. And increasing income has become extremely difficult with COVID and the market and all the uncertainties. So I've noticed, myself included, that we're really focusing on the expense side of things. And I've heard some people think about the creative strategy of integrating their company, basically having another arm that directly benefits the company, which you already had way before COVID. So what is that like from like a day-to-day perspective? And then what is that like from a true like discounted integration perspective?
Day to day, I've been able to build a really good team on the construction side. So I'm not in the day to day of it as much. I rely on my team for a lot of things. And then I am still very involved, especially on the client side and communicating with the client. And a lot of that gets me in front of other investors. And I mean, I think there's at least two or three that I can think of right now that my relationship started as being a contractor for them and we ended up partnering. So it definitely opens a lot of doors for that as well. And then as far as in-house for our investments, yes, it saves us money on the cost of the CapEx, but it saves us even more when you take into account how quick we can get our CapEx done and how quick we can get our interior units turned, and just the quality of work, and the fact that we're not scared to take on a big CapEx project. Or so it's a lot of, there's a lot of money tied to those things as well, and not just the savings of the CapEx.
And so you guys probably have so many deals at this point where, are you still using your construction company to have the clientele that you're talking about? Like, are you going out to other syndicators and helping them out with their deals? Or you're like, hey, we got too many deals of our own. We need you guys working on our deals. And, what does that look like?
It's a nice place to be as far as a company. So we can be very picky with the clients that we take on and the work that we take on. A lot of companies have to take work, especially small companies, they have to take the business as it comes, and they don't really get to be that picky with their criteria. And what it does is having our own projects allows us to be more picky on our clients and the type of projects we take on. I don't know if that answers your question, but
A little bit. So you are still taking on other clientele then, as well as
we do. I still have some that I'm not involved in the ownership at all, and we come in and we do just a CapEx project. Usually on their next deal, I may partner with them. If I convince them, but no, we still do some of that.
That's so great. So how are you sourcing these amazing, contractors, these amazing folks that know what they're doing, do it with good quality, want to work for a good company? And then what is from, I guess, like a CEO or a business owner perspective, what does the salary look like? How are you being competitive from, say, like a benefits standpoint? What does all of that look like, so that the listeners can know, if they are thinking about doing something like this, what is all of some of the expenses going to look like in order to have a really successful company?
So I'm the CEO of the company, and then I've got construction manager that runs our project managers, our superintendents, our project engineers. And then I've got my accounting manager that runs all the accounting and all that good stuff, makes sure that we're actually making a profit on some of these jobs. And then, so there's a lot of, I'm not sure how to break this down, like exactly, I can't give everybody's salary and whatnot, but I mean, we're a legit company, we have good benefits. And then as far as the crews, so we don't have a lot of our crews are W-9, they're contract employees, or not employees, but contract labor. And, for the most part, we treat them really well. And the same thing with our team members. Like, I focus a lot on company culture, and I think your team is the most important thing to your success. So we take care of them, we take care of our crews, and especially the crews, if things construction has these ups and downs, and then a lot of companies have issues where their crews leave them, because, they may get a little bit more money over here, they take off. We've never had that issue because we take care of them constantly, and we always have business for them. So they rather stay with that consistency versus chasing the more money over here, but then they get burnt by that company or something like that.
Broad spectrum here. What would you say is your best management advice for, and it doesn't even sound like you're in the day-to-day management anymore, but I know you probably were when you were first starting out. So if you had to think years back at this point, what would you say is your best management advice for managing contractors and making sure that the entire project runs smoothly? Because I know that's like everyone's issue. That's always the problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to that, man. So much that I've tweaked throughout the years and kind of perfected. The thing I noticed and still notice is investors don't put enough time into their CapEx project on the front end. And then they expect to, it's almost like they expect to not even give the contractor a clear scope of work, kind of have them figured out, and then they want them to start right away, and expectations are not aligned to reality. If you want a project to go smooth, you want it to stay on budget and on time, then spend the time and put the work in on the front end. Like, there's a lot that needs to be done before you actually step foot and start the project. And a lot of the times I don't see it. I don't see someone taking the time to really build out that scope of work and have everything down to every little detail, to actually conduct pre-construction meetings, make sure everybody involved's on the same page, go through the schedule together and make sure the schedule is reasonable and can actually be done. And then another thing so that's one, put the work in on the front end and see your contractor almost as a partner versus just as contractor, and work together with them on building the scope and the schedule and whatnot. And whenever that happens, that's when the projects go smooth, when you can get that right. All our projects go smooth because we get that part right. Before we even close on the property, on the CapEx part, we've been out to that property numbers of times. We've had several meetings about it, and we're ready. But yeah. Materials, if they haven't been ordered, the order sheets are ready to go. Everything's ready to go. Without all that work, it's stupid to think that you can get something done quickly.
And I think that's really powerful. I think the gist of what you're saying is communication. If not everyone's on the same page, then like you said, reality and expectations are going to be out of whack, and someone's going to get hurt or upset. And then at that point, then it becomes this like brawl and all the
So I was going to bring that up too, man. A lot of the times in the past, I don't experience that anymore. But yeah, someone's not aligned, the communication is not right. And then the mindset for some reason is, well, let me battle it out with this person instead of, well, let me figure this out. Where did we skip a step? Why isn't the communication there? Let's work together and figure this out. That's never the initial reaction.
Yeah. And it's so true and I think that goes back to ego, people's ego and their pride, that they don't want to accept the fact that maybe they had a role or a part to play in the fact that things aren't working out the way that they need to be. Everyone's so quick to point the finger and say, no, it's your fault. You didn't give me
you signed that scope of work that had 2 sentences in it and had no schedule. You signed it. Like, you're just as responsible, man.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. Okay, cool. On to the last 2 questions I have for you before we jump to the next segment of the show. George, one question that I've heard a gazillion times throughout COVID is deal flow. What the heck's going on with the deal flow? How do you get it? It's hard to find deals in general because cap rates keep compressing and no one's taking folks seriously and the competition is insane. Someone like the offer could be, or the list price could be 5 million, and before you know it, someone's offering 10, and you're like, it doesn't even make sense. Why? Where is this money coming from? So in today's hot market, how has you and your company continued, or have had continued success in finding deals? And then how are you underwriting future deals with all of the unknowns of the future?
So the first part of that, finding the deals, very similar to what I kind of just you got to put in the work. It's harder to find deals. If you take the easy path, which is just, okay, what do the big brokers have out there? If you go that route, you're going to end up in a highest and best in a bidding war, and your numbers are not going to pencil. And if they do, it's because you're lying to yourself most likely. But so I don't want to say we don't bid on any project that's listed with a big broker. That's not true. We do, but we definitely try to get those brokers to come to us first before they put it out in the market and see if we can just get it done quick. We try to find the true off-market deals, not the off-market that's been sent to everybody. And
Right.
But the true off-market, the smaller. There's a lot of times where we've gotten 2 deals like this now, maybe 3, 2 or 3, where it's given to a smaller broker. For whatever reason, the owner is friends with their brother or something, and they gave them the listing. Those are awesome, man, because you can get them at a decent price, and they're not being sent out to everybody. Cold calling, pulling reports from CoStar or Yardi, and either you or your team getting on the phone and calling. That's how we found our first 2 deals. You got to put that extra work to find the good deals. That's the bottom line. It's not going to be easy to find right now. And I completely forgot what the second part was. Underwriting. Underwriting. So how do we underwrite? Unknown. I think we're past some of the unknowns, obviously, that we had when COVID first came out. I think everybody's trying to see that light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, things are opening back up and whatnot, but still some unknowns and concerns with what's happened because of COVID. All the money pumped into the market and inflation and interest rates. So still unknowns there. What we're doing in our underwriting is, one, we're being conservative with the rates, with our exit cap, with our where we're going to push the rents to, and then we're not using any rule of thumbs on our expenses. We're trying to get it to the exact hard cost of whatever it is, taxes, insurance, payroll. That way we feel more confident in our underwriting. And then reserves, keeping some extra reserves just in case. And that's about it.
Yeah, I know when everything happened with COVID and we were continuing to underwrite some deals, we just happened to pay a lot more attention to the expense side of things and pay a lot less attention to, as much as we'd love to bump up the rents, we might as well just forget about it, pretend like it ain't going to happen, because who knows. So if we buy something at $50 or $100 a month below market, then we're going to expect that it's going to at least get to market. It might be a slower schedule, but it's at least going to get there, but we're not going to go past that. And then on the expense side, it's okay, can we do like low flow water? Can we do a rub model? Can we freaking put solar panels in and get cheaper electricity? Can we, what the heck?
Other income too, tweaking little things on the other income and seeing where else we can, without raising the rents, get some income coming in.
Yeah, we've done Airbnbs on one of our deals that helped out with the it almost tripled the monthly income of that one unit by Airbnb-ing it. So that helped out. But yeah, we had to really get creative on that side of things to make things work. All right. So last question I got, how can, for all the listeners out there listening and they're like, this dude's killing it, he's got all these things integrated and he's finding deals and doing all these amazing things, how can someone else try to vertically integrate their business? Maybe not even from a construction perspective, but just from anything. Maybe they want a property management company. I don't know. Maybe they want something. What advice?
Yeah, I mean, usually the first step is property management.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily see the construction piece being first. Look, I've got this advice. So I wouldn't do that till you had really good systems in place for what you're doing now, and acquiring these units and asset management. I would really feel comfortable with that first, that you've got some good systems in place before you try. I mean, no matter how you look at it, it's a whole other business. Property management or whatever else you want to integrate, it's got to be its own business. It can't just be solely, even if you're not taking third party, it still has to be able to pay for its overhead, right? At the minimum. So there's a lot that goes into that. So yeah, make sure you're ready for it. It's not easy.
I'm so glad you said that, because there's so many people out there that I'm sure are thinking, if I just had this, or if I just did this, then I could squeeze a little bit more in, and I could do a little bit more of this and spend a little bit more time doing this, then it might make sense. But there's only so much time in the day. And if you don't have these systems and processes in place, you're going to wear yourself out. You're going to be unsuccessful. And then everything's going to fail. Instead of being really good at one thing, you're trying to be good at everything, and it's all just going to crumble. And then you're not even a syndicator anymore. And you're just, I don't know, on the street, I don't know what
exactly.
you are. All right, moving on to the next segment of the show called the Pod Deck segment. Don't know if you've ever heard of this company, but they just make decks of cards, and every card's got a different question on it. This is going to be like pick a card, any card. You're going to tell me when to stop. We're going to pick two, and then whatever the heck's on the card, that's the question.
All right. This is exciting.
Tell me when to stop.
Stop. Stop.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. If you could accomplish simple tasks while sleeping and still get a good night's sleep, what would you want your body to do while you were sleeping?
I guess tedious things that don't really take much thinking, but you still have to do them.
Fold the laundry or do the dishes or clean.
Something like that. You don't technically have. That's easier to. I don't know. Depends on simple. I don't. If I could do some of my. If I check my emails and just get rid of the ones I really don't care about. Is that simple? I don't know.
Yeah, that's simple.
Not answer the complicated ones. Just get rid of all the. That would be nice.
All the nonsense ones. That'd be fantastic. There's too much nonsense out there.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Do you like to plan things out in detail or be spontaneous?
I hate saying it because it sounds boring, but yeah, I mean, details. But certain things I like being spontaneous.
So like with your wife or something, you like being spontaneous?
Right.
Going out on family.
But when it comes to business, yeah, I like to have it pretty detailed.
Yeah, I think that's probably good. Probably good to have it that way. All right. That completes the Pod Deck segment. On to the last segment of the show called the Core Four. Same four questions we ask every guest. First question: what is your favorite real estate related book?
The best ever. Joe Fairless's book.
The big red one.
Yes, that one.
I like that book. I think I've only ever had one person say that was their favorite. And I don't know if maybe it's my favorite or not, but that book was almost pivotal to me diving deeper and starting this thought leadership platform. I really don't think I'd have it, at least as soon as I had started it, had I not read his book.
I could think of a couple other ones, but when it comes to multifamily, I think you did a great job of just laying it out. Like, no fluff, just, hey, this is how you do it.
Right. This is word for word. Love it. Okay. Next question. What do you think your unique skill is that helped you become successful?
I think it's seeing the vision, creating the goals, and just staying focused on those goals. And for the most part, not getting too distracted.
Yeah. Powering through and staying focused. There's a lot of people that don't do that. I'll tell you that. Okay. Third question. Tell me something that's true about real estate that almost nobody agrees with you on.
It depends, I guess, on the market, but when it comes to single family homes, these fix and flips and these DIY shows that are on TV and just make it seem like, oh, I made $60,000 on this flip. No, it's not true. You didn't make $60,000 because you spent this much time on it. And if you take that into account, it doesn't really equate. And then surprises always pop up. So I guess the belief is that the fix and flips are not as profitable as some people think. There's money there.
They're not taking into the account of the time value of money, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Last question. What one piece of advice would you give to our listeners wanting to succeed in real estate investing?
Stay focused, pick the niche that you want to. You said real estate investing, so I don't know if you're open to more than multifamily, but if it's going to be multifamily, then stick with that, focus on that. Don't get distracted by somebody talking about doing storage or somebody talking about mobile home parks, or really conquer that first. And then if you want to go into different things after you've conquered that, that's fine, but conquer something first.
Right. Don't have shiny object syndrome.
Pretty much.